Welcome back, everybody, to another great episode of the Transformation Leaders Podcast. I am Sean Ennis, and I'm joined today with my wonderful co host, David Snowden. And we're addressing something that I think is super cool. Hopefully, the non techies out there will be able to get some value out of it. But for me, it really flips my trigger because it helps everyone understand the value that AI brings when it comes down to solving problems. So when you have uh, an engineering problem or a transformation process, usually a transformation process requires multiple people. Why you want multiple people is so that you have multiple perspectives, that you bring in somebody who is a coding expert, you bring someone who's a marketing expert in, and what you do is you get them all grouped together and saying, hey guys, this is the problem, and everybody gets to speak up, everybody has a role to play, and everybody executes. And this is how humans solve problems. Now, for the people who have unfortunately had to listen to me rant for the last 2 years about AI, you'll know that I like to treat AI as a person. And it's easier to understand how to train AI, how to use AI, how to leverage AI when you treat it like a person. So this is where we're talking today about multi-agent solutions. And I have asked, and David has nicely responded, sure, why not? Let's talk about this and show how to create something like this. So, David, I'd love to hand it over to you and educate us when it comes down to creating multi-agent solutions.
Yep. Perfect. And thanks so much for the intro, Sean. And I also want to go and tell everybody, if you're about to click off of this show right now because you think this is going to be too technical, I'm going to keep it really, really simple. As a matter of fact, I've got the Claude user interface that looks similar to ChatGPT up. And I brought this here to kind of ease us into this so that it's not so crazy. But the thing I also want to say is we're not going to get into any coding today. I'm not going to actually write computer code. We're not going to make an application. What I am instead going to do is show you how to make agents in Claude code. But I want to break your comfort zone or challenge you to break your comfort zone a little bit and get out of this pretty sexy user interface that's so easy to use. We can upload documents, take screenshots, add stuff from Google Drive. But more importantly, if you've never adventured out into all of the different settings in here, if we go underneath the settings of Claude, there's this thing called Claude Code down here. There's all these different connectors that you can connect to different things. But there's also the stuff that you can do in the developer world to connect this to certain things that will help you out. They're called MCP servers. These are all things for real true coders. We're not going to get into any of that today, but I'm going to break something into the command line. Now you notice I got things split screen here. I'm on Windows, and in Windows, I'm in my B drive, which is my backup drive. And I created a Transformation Leaders podcast, hence the acronym TLP. And I'm inside of this folder. There's nothing in it. It's completely blank. Now, this is regular Windows. I've tucked away this on the side as to not distract us, but this is regular, normal Windows interface. And so inside of this folder, we're going to create a bunch of text documents that I can pull up. There might be a little bit of formatting syntax here and there that might look a little off, but still 98% human readable. So I'll bring it into what they call a viewer to kind of hide away all of those weird looking codes. But the key point here is I'm going to use something ridiculous that I think everybody can understand. And I realize that not all of you cook your dinners. You might order HelloFresh or one of those meal services. And so even this is going to seem ridiculous to you. But nonetheless, hopefully everybody can at least remember a time maybe with their grandmother, their grandfather, or somebody in the kitchen. We just came off of the holidays and Thanksgiving. We're about to come up on Christmas. and maybe you have some fond memories of cooking cookies with grandma or something like that. I know that's true for me, but in any event, what I want to illustrate is I want you to think about when you're making a recipe, any recipe, you have the recipe itself, and then the recipe is broken down into the ingredients. There's usually some instructions, but before all of that, there's a little bit of preparation work after the recipe. Typically, you don't write one, although my grandmother would have. And I have done some things similar, but usually what you do is you use somebody else's recipe. And when you're using their recipe, you're like, oh yeah, I want to make this. We want to have this for dinner or whatever. And then you go out and you go shopping to do it. So you have lots of different tasks, lots of different things that you can do. Now, usually it's just you doing it yourself. And this is how we've all been in the workplace, right? Up until 2, 3, 4, even 5 years ago, we would be doing and wearing all of these hats. And now as we're moving into 2026, a lot of us, unless we've been living under a rock, have heard of ChatGPT. And we are using some flavor, some variant of the week of that. I use a lot of Claude. Sean does too. We also use Gemini and a whole bunch of other tools. But nonetheless, the key here is now we've moved beyond generative AI, which is asking AI to generate something for us, and moved into the world where we have lots of AIs generating lots of things. And this needs some orchestration, some hand-holding, some governance. And I don't mean governance from a risk mitigation governance type of thing. I mean governance like guardrails to say, hey, do this, no, stay in the lines, don't do this, do that. And so this is like, I don't know, maybe a teacher in school that kind of sets forth the lesson plan and makes sure that you stay on topic. And so that's Sean's job today, by the way, for me to keep me on track. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop open Claude Code, and it's as simple as just typing Claude. So I'll type that. This will load up Claude Code. And now in this command line interface, and by the way, if you're not familiar with how I got here, in Windows, you can simply type in CMD for command, and then that opens up a DOS box or a command line that is on the other screen. And it looks like that. And that's what I had over here. And then I typed in Claude, and that's how I got to where I am. So 2 steps back to kind of take you where I am here. All right. So with that being said, this is like the Claude user interface that I saw. It may not be as comfortable for you, but the power, oh my God. So you're going to hit a context window that's going to happen in the user interface. And at some point, and I've done it many a times, you hit the ceiling and it tells you you can no longer continue the conversation to start a new one. This doesn't happen in Claude Code. You see, there's a bunch of these configurable things. Now, I hit this / to get to all of these options. And this compact feature right here is super helpful. But right now, there's nothing there to compact. Compact takes the conversation and smushes it down. And essentially what it does is it takes all this mumbo jumbo speak or code or whatever you got in here, and it compacts and compresses it down into a much smaller, usable, summarized, consolidated, concise window so you can continue the conversation. And you don't get that in the user interface. So that right there, meaning that I could run it on and forever in perpetuity using Claude Code, where I never have to reset the conversation if I don't want to. It'll just keep going and keep going. So if that one reason is compelling for you, try using Claude Code, because if you have a Claude subscription, you have access to this tool. You just have to install Claude Code. And I'm not going to get into that in this video, but if you are interested, leave a comment in the comment box or wherever you're watching this, and maybe we'll go back and we'll do kind of a prep video for that. All right. So with that being said, what we want to talk to you about today is this new agents feature, or relatively new. It's probably in the last 4 to 6 months-ish. Kind of everything is a blur right now because everything happens so quickly. And so what we want to do is get into creating a new agent. I don't have any agents, so my only option right now is to create a new agent. Now, I do have 2 options. I'm going to stick to the easier of the 2 options right now. And you saw earlier that I'm in this TLP folder. The project is that folder, TLP. So I'm going to create a project one, but I could do personal, which would apply to the whole computer. Any new project I create in the future, it would write it more globally or higher level up. So you do have that option too. And if you're a superpower user, like Sean and I are, you're using and probably used to seeing those types of tools. But I don't care about that because I'm going to do this really localized type of personalization for agents. But the real power of agents are when you're using things in and out all day long, then you probably want to consider these personal or the personal option. Again, leave comments in the comment box. Encourage you to do that. Maybe we'll circle back in the future and we'll talk about that level in a different show. But again, today we're going to do regular project. Now, you have more options that you're being asked. Do you want to generate this with Claude? And it recommends it. And I recommend it for you if you're just getting started. If you're seasoned, you're probably not even listening anymore because you know exactly what we're going to do. And you're like, I got this. And you're off to the races, writing and doing whatever you're going to do. However, if you want to, you can manually walk it through there. And I'm going to let it guide us. So I'm going to use the recommended approach right now. But you can write all of this out. It's just you need to get some experience under your belt. And once you've done this 1 or 2 times with the help, the recommended approach, then you know exactly what to expect. You'll know exactly what to say, and you'll be off to the races. Now, I really suck at typing. I'm no good at it. I can do it, but I usually like to talk to it. So you're going to see me push a magic button on my keyboard, and I'm just going to speak to it and make sure that at least it translates. And the computer is doing that. This isn't Claude doing the translation or voice to text translation, although AIs do that. But I just wanted to clarify that from here. So right now I'm going to create a new agent, and I need to say, what is this agent going to be? So I'm going to go from this recipe / maybe we're going to make some cookies or something like that today. But at the high level, I want to create the top level orchestration agent. And I'm going to go in here and I'm going to start with just recording this out. So at this point, I'm going to hit my magic button, and now I'm going to talk to the AI, and you're going to be like a bird on my shoulder, just watching me go ahead and do this. I need you to create for me a orchestration agent that will sit above all other agents. This agent and the theme that we're creating here today is going to be around recipes and cooking. We're going to have other agents like grocery shopping, where that agent is going to create grocery lists for us. We're going to talk about an agent that's going to describe all of the steps necessary to clean up the mess that we're going to create. We're also going to talk about the actual cooking process. We're going to talk about recipes. But this agent that we need you to create right now is all about knowing about the other agents that we're going to be creating and which agent to call, which time, and when it's appropriate. If you have any questions, be sure to ask. Otherwise, proceed with creating the agent. Now, I always like to add that last part.
Yes.
Because if the agent doesn't know or isn't clear, it will be the helper friendly dog that it is and wag its tail with its tongue out saying, yes, 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 Rover, let me do what I can do to please you. And it'll go off and it'll just create something. However, that last directive opens the door to allow it to ask refining questions. And occasionally I have had it come back and ask me something. So we'll see.
And it's very, very useful in all prompting, David. All prompting. That is a superpower that you have as a prompter, is going through and putting that last sentence. Ask me questions for clarity. We want to create a good result. And so what you're telling it is like, hey, it's okay to talk back to me. Because otherwise, it may think you will be mad at it for talking to you.
Yep. And here we go here. Let's see. What's it asking me to do? Create a new tool, select the tools. I want to have all tools available to it. So if you're not familiar with agents are, and I'll go one step back to go 2 steps forward. I explained this a little bit before, but an agent is like generative AI, and it can just go out and usually create. But agents or agentic AI not only can orchestrate and control other agents, it comes along with additional capabilities. And this is to go into its toolbox and reach out and get tools. You can set security parameters here. It can only read the tools, but it can't create or edit existing tools. Or you can have it only execute tools. So there's a little bit of governance in here. I talked a little bit about MCP. I planted that seed early on purpose because I knew this was going to come up. And so I will bring this up just for visual illustration purposes. If you use Docker Desktop or Docker at all, there is this thing called the MCP toolkit that comes along. And MCP are like a tool in and of themselves. As a matter of fact, I use them as tools, but terminology is interchangeable. That gets more into the programmer geeky thing. And again, we're not getting into all of that. But these are additional tools / capabilities, and you can add additional servers. And there's a whole bunch of stuff out here. So if you haven't used Docker Desktop and you're interested in exploring MCP, which again, we're not going to cover in any detail other than just this call out. Go ahead and explore all of this because you have now built-in capabilities with Claude Code and Docker Desktop that you've never had before. So times are a changing, things are getting even easier, quicker, and faster. Anyway, so for the most part, for this illustration, I'm going to leave everything on the default and just hit continue. And within Claude Code, you have Sonnet and Opus and Haiku, which is their older legacy model. Opus is their more expensive model, but Sonnet 4.5 is just fine for what we're doing. Now, this is helpful occasionally because you will be able to see when an agent is being called. If this was buggy earlier, so I'm not sure if they fixed it or not, but if you set the colors for the agent, as the agents go through the different cycles, as it's being called, you'll get a visual color cue as to which is getting executed, either by the text, I think is how it works, or it was the background. So I'm going to set this one as the green because it's like go. This is the top of the stack, and then we'll use different colors for the specialty agents that we'll create here in just a moment. Okay, so let's see what we got here. Create and save. It's giving me the description. It's putting in the system prompt. Kind of giving a summary. I can press S or enter to save, and then off to the races it'll go. And you'll see over here, I got a .claude folder that appeared in my project folder. And as I go through this, I can probably drill in, and now I have my agents, plural, but I'll only have the one agent. And I told you, I'm going to open this up with Notepad just so that you can see what this looks like. So here's Notepad. There's a little bit of formatting in here. So like you see these double stars, there's some \ns. It's escaping it. 98% of this is human readable, right? But there's still a little bit of syntax. It's called Markdown. Anyway, there are Markdown viewers that you can use and open this with. I'm using something called Markdown Text. In any event, what it does is it strips out that ugly formatting or that weird looking formatting and gives it to you in a more human, digestible, readable way. And now we can see what agent it created from my prompt. And again, I made a prompt to create another prompt. But the secret to the sauce here is, if you're not picking this up yet, is that as a prompt engineer, in this case, I'm a context engineer, because I understand the full context of what I'm trying to do, which is to build a team of people that I can use to help me create recipes, clean up, and do all of the different tasks that are required when you're in the kitchen cooking. And so think about this in your day life, if you're in medical or medicine, for your process, for your procedures, you can create an agentic team of agents to go off and do the different tasks and then orchestrate them. And you no longer in traditional workflows say do A, then B, then C. Nothing's linear anymore. Everything is highly intelligent. This is what AI is. This is what AI brings to the table. So this is my culinary orchestrator agent. So I'm not going to save this. We'll just get out of here. And now we'll move on to creating the next new agent. Okay, so again, we're going to do with the project. I'm going to go a lot faster. I'm not having to explain all of this now. So we're going to generate with Claude recommended, and now I'm going to start talking to it. In this agent, I want to have this agent create a grocery shopping list from an existing recipe. If you are not giving or given the context of what is in the recipe or what the recipe is, you need to ask the orchestrator agent for that information before proceeding. Otherwise, tell the orchestrator agent you can't continue because you're missing information. With that being said, your job is to create a grocery shopping list for an AI assisted workflow. A human is going to have to go out to the grocery store and pick up these items, and your job is to create a nicely formatted document as output in rich text format, otherwise known as RTF. When you're done, you will create this output, and then the human will take the list and take it to the grocery store. Now, this is where MCP servers come into play, because you can potentially use an MCP in the future to take your grocery shopping list, like Walmart. You can shop online now, and a human will then just deliver the groceries to you. And so as we start getting into this new day and age, this is, even though it's tongue in cheek, this is not too far off from what reality is coming very quickly. So imagine having all of your digital recipes. You just pick what items you want to have, and assuming you still are going to be the one cooking and you don't have a Tesla bot in your kitchen cooking these groceries, and that's coming too probably soon, then, all of this stuff is really just mind-boggling how fast all of this is happening. So I'm going to go ahead and create the new agent here. But Sean, you got anything to add about, kind of where you see, even though this is tongue-in-cheek, like the art of what's possible with what you've seen and heard, even as it relates to even just business? Doesn't have to be this tongue-in-cheek.
Think of what things are going to be like in 5 years when you have robotic workers, right? And what is the future of labor? People are asking now that AI is so strong. Well, perhaps this is the job of what blue collar workers will be, is exactly what you just did, is say, okay, this is what we're doing today. You guys do this, you guys do this, you guys do that, and then they look at this, they run a couple simulations to make sure, okay, the robots are programmed, and now let's go. And you sit around and you watch to make sure the robots are doing what you told them to do. Now, right now, you're seeing it in more textual form, but this could certainly be the precursor of what our jobs in the future are going to be as robotic supervisors. So I'm really excited for this, simply because I think teamwork makes the dream work. That's what I say all the time. And having people with different perspectives. I know David's perspective on things and mine are very different at times. And that's a valid, excellent addition to each other,
yep.
Right? And being able to program that in to have different quote unquote angels on your shoulder is a good idea, and it's smart and robust. So this is just another layer of how building and configuring rolls away from people who can actually know the syntax to people who understand what the problems are. So the better you can understand the problem, and the better you can understand what a solution could be, should be, the more likely you're going to be able to solve the problem with AI.
Well, I'm going to make this one last piece of the pie here, because I think we have at least enough to get the point across. I'm going to create one last agent for you. I'm going to hit the record button, and we're going to do it like the other two. Your job is the recipe agent. You will take instructions from the orchestrator, or you will ask the end user for what would they like to eat. And from there, they will give whatever the answer is going to be. And your job is to take that request and tear it and break it apart so that you will include both the ingredients list that will be used by the grocery shopping agent later, and you'll hand that back off to the orchestrator to deal with that. You'll also need to make sure that you have the cooking instructions, the assembly instructions, like how do I make it, and everything a normal recipe would be expected to have. So when you're done, you will then give the information back to the orchestrator that you are complete, but not before creating a recipe card, which will be outputted as a rich text formatted document with headers and formatting, everything that one would expect to see in a recipe card. And again, when you're done, let the orchestrator know that you're complete so that you can have that orchestrator agent call the grocery shopping agent. Again, if you have any questions, ask before creating the agent. Otherwise, please create the agent. Okay, so probably if I had a little bit more time, because we're getting on in time of this demonstration and it's lagging a little bit, I wanted to kind of speed it up. So I probably left a little bit of holes. If I had the time to noodle on it a little bit more, I might have changed a couple things. I would have probably broken down the instructions to the ingredients a little bit more, maybe split it up 2 or 3 ways. But the key here is that the person, if you're a project manager, if you're a product owner, if you're the person that knows the process from end to end, this should be you doing what I'm doing here. I'm using the tongue-in-cheek. I'm using the tongue-in-cheek version of this to go ahead and just kind of illustrate something. But if you're the type of individual who's a subject matter expert in X, Y, or Z, you should be creating a digital workforce to work alongside your humans to accelerate your work. And this is exactly how you would do something like this. Okay, so I'm done with my agents here. Now, I'm going to see, I'm going to exit out of this. I'm back to a normal, DOS prompt. So I'm just going to type in DIR. You guys have seen this a million times. And so if you're wondering why I don't have the file shown here, it's because these files live in this .claude folder. Anyway, so I'm going to go back into Claude, clear it. So I've got a brand new session. The reason I went out and came back in is because I want you to see this. Now watch what happens when I push /. Right? I have all of these additional options, but more importantly, if I click on agents, I have my agents that's here. Okay. So the last final piece of this is I'm going to go into this, and I don't want to view agent, whatever, back. Okay. Here we go. Now I'm going to just talk to it straight up. I need you to work with the culinary orchestrator agent. To execute that agent, I would like to have something to eat, and I need the team to help me with the process. Now, I left that a little light. I want to see what happens. I'm hoping something chokes, because if it does what I've done before when I've used this very tersely, some things that might happen. Although Claude is getting so good at intention, it's becoming less and less of a problem. Let's see what it does. I love these little things that you see here in the orange. If you can see colors on my screen, it says shenanigan. It comes up with all these weird terminologies. Oh, there we go. The culinary orchestrator is in green. So you now know that it is doing what I've asked it to do, and it's help the user get something to eat. So the culinary agent is trying to figure out what's going on. Now check out what kind of meal are you in the mood for? Now the orchestrator knows every team member that it is. Now what the orchestrator will also do, and this is the fantastic part that I love about Claude, because it's so good at intention now, the culinary orchestrator will try to fill in the gaps and serve as a true mentor would. If you're the boss, you're running a team, you know nobody else has the team, but you know you're responsible for whatever the outcome your team delivers. Guess whose fault or guess whose lap it's going to land on to execute or to do the work? And it's usually you as the person in charge. And so Claude is very much the same way as all of this. So now I basically have an opportunity. What do I want to do? I said I'm hungry. I want to do something to eat. I don't know what ingredients because I don't know what I want to eat. So now I get categories of, hey, what do I want? Well, right now I'm stressed out. I want some comfort food. Let's see. Do you already have the ingredients at your home? And I don't know. And so what does it want to be? It's dinner time. What are we going to do here? Review the answers, submit the answers. Let's see what it does. Now, I think I went back so quick. There was an option in there. I think I had the opportunity to kind of like fill in the blank or to guide it a little bit more, but I am interested because I'm super interested because I now got this survey that I didn't ask it to do, but the orchestrator, because I gave it such an ambiguous type of thing, if I said I wanted, XYZ food, it would have probably gone off and just gone to the races with this. So let's see, homemade, lasagna is pretty involved. Let's try that one. Let's see what it does with that. So I just say 4. I could have said lasagna. Now, with any luck, keep in mind or keep over here. I'm going to come out of the agents. I'm going to go into TLP area and the rich text documents for the 2 different orchestrators. I want to see if we get a shopping list. And I want to see if we actually get a recipe card for this.
And again, want to be clear, we didn't do this before. We're just spitballing here. And why I am so insistent to David to show us this multi-agent is all about these problems, and this is just an example of it, happen in all kinds of shapes and formats and what have you. And you can take it any road that you want. Looks like it's saying, okay, I think I'm ready.
Yep, pretty much. I was just reading through very carefully. I was concerned at first that it was just giving me all of the output here. So what would you like to do with next? So I'm going to throw a curveball at it. I'm not going to do a number. I need an end-to-end solution here. I need my shopping list. I need all of the guidance, and I need the cleanup instructions. I need it all. So basically, I don't want 1, 2, or 3. I want everything. I'm like going to push it to the max. Let's see what it does.
Slithering. And again, for a lot of people out there, this is a thought experiment, but seeing something like this, if you're a transformation leader, should spark your imagination of, wow, we could solve so many different exotic problems with this. We can pull in many different individual perspectives and bring them together and see how the layering of those expertises, how they can work. I don't know about you, David, but prompting, I like to tell AI what kind of expert it is, because that reduces hallucinations. So if you're going to do that and you're going to want multiple different expertises and maybe differing perspectives, duking it out, you don't want to do it in the data layer. You want to do it at this high up. So yet another example of why you want multi-agent solutions.
Yeah, the one thing I want to call out real quick right now is that the culinary orchestrator agent is still ripping through all of this. It's trying to come up with a game plan of who it has, what it's asking for. Plus, I threw it the curveball and said, I need an end-to-end solution. Plus, it's taking into context what it gave me before. Let's see here. You now have everything. And it did choke. But this fix for this would have been pretty easy. because what I would have done is add a guardrail there that says, understand each of the agents and make sure, or actually I would have had an output agent that simply takes the instructions. So you think of this as input, output, but you never know when something's going to get called to do something. It's kind of like you at work. Hey, what's going to happen? I do this. I produce this value, and you go around your first day, you introduce yourself. And so you introduce yourself to your colleagues. Hopefully your colleagues remember you. And then they come and say, hey, I need help with X, especially if you built the trust and they know you're good and they know you can deliver. At any given time, you're going to get called randomly up. And so that's kind of the way I treat these agents, is make them so that they can receive instructions and give something back out. And that's really the key here. I am going to yell at it a little bit and see what it does.
No, I mean, I think this is more than good, David. Sorry about that. I think this is more than good to explain this. And what I would really challenge people, give this a try. And I mean, again, we did a little goofy example here. But for the people out there who are like, I'm not a coder. Well, David just talked to it like it's a person. I think that was a really good addition to explain to people that you don't need to even be good at typing to do these things. I mean, what an excellent example of lowering the bar for people out there, David, that are terrified of coding when you don't even have to type.
Nope. Just talk to it. That's all you got to do. And it works naturally on Windows as well as Mac. It's built into the operating system. So you can do text or voice to text anytime you want. So this thing's still spinning. I know for a fact, I guarantee you it's going to create these lasagna shopping lists and everything else. But the point is I can use this agent team to now build and do agentic kind of cool stuff for me. When I'm hungry, I just call my team and it will assemble my shopping list. It'll give me the recipe and blah, 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 blah. This is just tongue-in-cheek type stuff. But in any event, Sean, I'm going to hand it back to you. I'll stop sharing the screen here, and hopefully everybody learned a couple of cool new tricks.
Yeah, I mean, David, what a great job. And this is an absolutely exciting time to realize this could very well be a glimpse into the future of how we interact with AI. And, love to get everybody's comments on this and feedback. But the sky is literally the limit here. Really appreciate all of the demo today, David. And I leave it back to you for any last comments.
Nope. I think we covered each and every one of them. But remember, leave your comment in the comments below. We're, this type of stuff, doing it on the fly. Demo gremlins are always going to be introduced. But if you have a very particular thing where we have a little time to noodle on it, let us know in the comments. We're happy to take those suggestions. Visit us on the Transformation Leaders Podcast website. You can hit us up with that QR code. You can hit us with the URL. You can type it. Remember, if you don't like typing, try that new practice thing. Just say transformationleaderspodcast.com in a browser, but make sure your cursor's there. Give it a try, and maybe you'll wind up on our website. If and when you do, go down to the comments section below. You'll be able to fill out the form. It'll go directly to Sean and I. And that's it for this week. We'll see you just before Christmas on the week to come, every Wednesday at 12 o'clock noon Eastern Standard Time. Until next time, thanks, everybody. Have a great day.